Well, my friend brought me Twilight and said, you need to read this book. And I said, well, what's it about? She goes, it's about vampires. And I went, yeah, I don't know about that. That's not typically what I read. And she goes, no, seriously, you have to read this.
The vampire thing is hard. How many of you were into vampire books? Because there's.
I didn't know it was about vampires. Yeah.
See, and that's my hardest thing to say is when people say, what's it about? And which should be easy for an author. And I just have to say, ugh. It's about vampires, there's romance, and you just know they're going to cringe. They always do.
Everybody thinks it's hokey.
Oh yeah.
A couple of people will say, "Oh, I love
describe
vampires.
it."
That's why I picked it up." But most people, it's not really a vampire thing.
Yeah,
so
no.
See, I usually preface that before I hand it off to someone saying, it's about vampires, but it's really not. It's more about the relationship and the romance. So
I always say it's not like it sounds. That's a hard part. But so nobody here was a real vampire fan.
No.
I was. I was into Buffy and all that.
That was my favorite show for like years. I like watched every episode.
See, and I've never seen it, but my sister, the one who got to read Twilight when no one else did, she was, and I didn't know that, she had kept that her dark secret. So when I told her that it was about vampires, she's like, oh, I love that. I'm like, you do? We're both just shocked with each other, but I can't watch Buffy now because I can't watch anything vampires because it messes me up.
No,
Because you have your own idea and concept of it, which makes sense.
You don't want to see something that's too close and think, oh my gosh, everyone's going to think I ripped this off. I mean, even if they think that, I don't want to know they're thinking that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there are people who are hardcore Edward and who are hardcore Jacob. Have you met any that love both? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There are people, most people, I would say 50% are Edward and nothing else. And then you have about 30%, 40% that Edward's the best, but Jacob's still pretty nice. And you have like 10% that, they're kind of torn. And then, 0.5% that love Jacob. And they're a small crowd, but they're very loyal.
My mom is
I
the
finally
Jacob.
got her to read the books. She absolutely hates Edward. I was like, what? That was the first thing I asked when she read it. So what do you think about Edward? I hate him. He's horrible.
Is it because he's like a century plus older than Bella?
She just thinks he's a creep. I was like, no, but she's absolutely in love with Jacob.
Boys tend to like Jacob better. I think they can identify with him, the idea of being the underdog, no pun intended, and just not being perfect. And that's one of the reasons I love him is because he says stupid things sometimes, and he doesn't always think through what he's into. And Edward's so careful, and Jacob just messes up all the time. And for me, that's really endearing. But
Edward's such a gentleman. That's why
he
too.
is.
Right, but you can see where Bella is sort of torn between the two because Jacob is more reality than, even though he is a werewolf, he has that more grasp on humanity than Edward does.
He does have a more human feel.
She always describes as the angel. So
well, Jacob's very earthy. He is realistic, and I'll have people say, "Is there really an Edward out there?" And it's like, no. For that, it's not going to be a pleasant journey. But keep your eyes open for Jacob because there are a couple of those. There's very few of them, but he's fantastic. If you can find a Jacob, you're really doing well. Edward, no. Nobody's got good luck.
Edward is so mature. I mean, he has lived life, and
Jacob is so new, and he acts like a teenager, and he is a teenager, and
so it really parallels Bella, I think, because
Absolutely.
I mean, with what Edward's been through and what he's seen, he does have that sophistication because of his age, and then you've got Bella and Jacob both going through the same teen angst, even though she does love Edward. So they're going through it almost together.
I actually wanted them to kiss when they were in the kitchen right before the phone rang. I wanted it, even though I want her to be with Edward, but I just wanted them to have that little moment.
There's a lot of people who say they were screaming no right then.
They're so against it, but I was like, no, I kind of wanted it.
That was a really fun scene to write. It was, just right there on the edge, and you're like, okay, are they going to kiss? No. The phone's going to ring. Dang,
Oh, man.
Yeah, it would have been fun to see that.